So we're going to get started on the projects now to the Ranger. If you're following along in this channel, a lot of it's outdoor camping, but I picked up a new tow vehicle and we got to whip it into shape a little bit. So there's a few projects that we're going to do. Today we're going to take care of the back glass that is leaking. There on the driver's side, on top of the headliner, it was all wet. This was soaked. You could see water running down all the way down into the floor. The carpet was soaked. So I popped off these panels and I could see the leak coming from down on top here. It was running from the top and then down the side of the window. So to get the access to this rear window, it's just screwed in. So there's just a few nuts that hold this rear window in, and then it's just butyl tape that's held in. So I just took and popped off these panels. They're fairly easy. They've just got these push pins here. Just one thing to keep in mind, don't do this cold. You do it cold, you'll crack all your panels. The panels will be cracked. But when it's nice and warm, you can just pop these push pins out. So I took this off, the outside one along the top there's a piece trim here. That hook got taken off. That's just a Phillips. And then I actually just dropped the whole headliner. It's pretty easy to do. Your visors here are actually just screwed. There's 3 screws on this corner that holds this one corner, and then the clip over there's got 1 screw, and then the grab handle right here, it's got a 5.5 mil, a good old Ford. So if you're working on a Ford Ranger, you might as well pick yourself up a 5.5 because they use them all over the place. But anyways, this grab handle, pulled this down, just drop the headliner down so it's sitting on the seats, and then you can just pull it out sideways. That's just so I didn't wreck it or rip it or get it dirt. Here's the condition of the back glass right now. You can see the previous owner, obviously this has been leaking for a long time. It's rusted out a lot of the bolts. The spot welds are starting to rust. But look, you can see how he tried to fix it with just putting silicone. So they just silicone it, which does not work. It's all just peeling off, and it's terrible job done. So we're going to pop it out and put our butyl tape in here. So here we have the window out, just getting ready to work on it. One of the studs was missing at the bottom. I don't know if you noticed that when I was pulling it out. So what I took is, I just took a normal bolt and I stuck it in here with, this is a body seam sealer. So it sticks to plastic, sticks to fiberglass, and also metal. So I just thought that might work well to hold it in, just to suck it in. So it does seem pretty tough. I can't pull it out if I wanted to. But we'll see when I stick it in whether that's going to work very well or not. So now I'm just going to clean up the old butyl, and then we'll get the new butyl. Right now I've got the new butyl. It's sitting in the fridge. I just find it a lot easier to put on. It's not so sticky or tacky if I can just leave it cold for a bit, and then I'll put it on all the way around. And what I'll do is I'll let it sit out in the sun. So sit in a nice hot sun. Give it a good hour probably in the sun. It'll soften it right up so that when we slide this window in, it'll make really good contact, and it won't be holding off anywhere around the body. It'll make a good seal all the way around, and it'll suck the window right in. So cold to install the butyl, and then after, make sure it's nice and hot before you install the window. So if it's winter time, you'd have to heat it up with a heat gun. Or in the summer, just let it sit in the sun. It'll do the work for you. I just wanted to cover something here before I move on in this video. You can see the ridges in our rear view windows here. You see, like this ridge here, this goes to the body. That's flat against the body, so no butyl on here, right? Obviously. The butyl goes right here and on this side of the bolts. and it runs all the way along, staying on this side of the bolts. You can go in a bit when you go around the bolts, but then go in, but you keep it on here. It's interesting on this window, and I've seen this on a bunch, someone's put the butyl tape right up here. So on here, this goes right tight to your body, and what happens if you put it on here is then you'll have a gap between your weather strip here and your body because it's too tight here. Whereas it's got to go on this ridge. You can see the step. It's got to go here, and then this goes tight to the body. So it has to go here, right? And otherwise you will get this molding standing off your body. So that's two things to do. If you put it on here and then make sure it's hot, nice and warm before you install it on the truck, this molding here should go tight to the body. You should be able to suck it in tight. Okay, so now I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to just use some acetone, but acetone is not really, it should be alcohol. But I'll use acetone. It's just, it will eat the rubber, so I got to be quick with it. And I'll wipe it off, thoroughly off, and let it dry before I stick the butyl on it. But that's all I got on hand. So here's my butyl tape, fresh out of the fridge, nice and cool. And I'm going to put that on. Recommend you wear gloves with this stuff. It's very sticky. So I got my gloves on, and we're going to roll this butyl tape out now. One thing I want to mention too is we want our seam at the bottom there. So not right at that bolt, but usually on that side of the bolt, just a little bit over on that side. If you can see that, right about there is where I'm going to put the seam. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to go up and around, come all the way around, and then where I'm going to join is I'm going to overlap it a very tiny bit on top. I'm not going to go under or over anything. I'm just going to put a little bit on top, and I'll just squish it into place. Okay, here we go. So this is it all done. You can see where I've got the bead of butyl tape. It's not in by the window. It's out by the body, as far out by the body as you can get. So that's all on there. You got it down here. Where's that seam gone? Oh, the seam's down here, the bottom of the window. So there's the seam. It's just overlapped like a couple millimeters, but just enough, and it's at the bottom. So there you go. So now I'm going to let it just sit out here in the direct sun. Let it sit out here for an hour or so, be nice and soft, and then I'll slide it in to install it. So that's the trick with this stuff, is to make sure it's warm. Okay, it's been about 42 minutes out here in the sun. You can see now it's quite tacky, sticky, really soft compared to when we put it on. Night and day difference. So that will be good. That'll squish down nice and tight. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes, and I am going to get it in there. Okay, there we go. So now it's pressed in place. I squished it in as hard as I can. Now I'll take my 9mm, it's not 9mm socket, and I'll just do it in by hand. It's just with a hand driver, And then I'll just tighten it really lightly with my ratchet. So 9mm, tighten up those screws on the inside. Okay, so that's it. We're all in. I've got it pretty tight. I don't know if you can see the gap, but there really isn't much of a gap between the old, that's the old weather strip, and the cab. So I tightened it up. I started it with the middle bolts, and then I just worked my way around. Middle, this side, then up. And I didn't over tighten them, just a little bit at a time, going along, and then slowly tightening them all up, just doing circles, and then hand tighten them as tight as I could get them. And then what I'll do is I'll start putting the headliner in now, and after the headliner's in, I'll just come back and recheck them because it might have squished in a little more, that butyl tape, and then that's good. We're done, and I can almost guarantee it will not be leaking any water.